Hi, everybody. Welcome to Pandemic Punditry's Marketing in a Pandemic mini-series. We are delighted and excited to have Swish Goswami with us in the house here today, CEO of Trufan. He wears a number of hats, very, very accomplished young person. And so we're very excited to have you here on Pandemic Punditry, Swish.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. I know you mentioned I wear multiple hats. Today is actually one of the first days I feel like I'm not even wearing a hat on a podcast interview. So this will be special, I feel.
Yeah, I've noticed that you favor hats from all your TED Talks.
I do. I do favor hats a lot. And that's also because, and especially right now, I haven't got a haircut in a while. So normally when my hair is not cleaned up, I guess today I would just like, screw it, might as well. But I'm definitely still, I feel like in due for a haircut. My hair's like curling up and everything.
Well, I know you're joining us from Toronto today, right? And it
Yeah.
seems like a beautiful day out there in the background.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I normally take my meetings in my room and I try to like put the blinds down, but this time I was like, it's irresistible. The sun's out. It just looks like a beautiful day. It's a Friday, obviously, so just had the feeling want to sit at the couch and let the sunlight hit me.
Why not? Why not? We're excited that you joined us and glad that you could make it. I know you have a huge amount of demands on your time. So what to start off, it would be great if you could kind of give us an idea of what your latest endeavor, and I know you're a serial entrepreneur. You've started a number of businesses, and I think because it's public domain information, it's on your LinkedIn profile. You are only 23 years old, if I'm correct, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, heck, at 23, I forget about starting a company. I was barely getting out of my trying to figure out what job I wanted to do, but.
Right.
It's amazing that you've had this, illustrious career already, and you're barely 23. You've started a number of companies already. You've done a lot of wonderful things, including being a UN Youth Ambassador, among other things. Just give us a flavor of how you got to Trufan. I mean, what was sort of the journey before that? I know you were at Dunk before that as well. So just maybe for those audiences who haven't been good enough to do a little bit of Googling on you, it would be helpful if you don't mind.
Sure, yeah. So I mean, my whole kind of, I guess, career, quote unquote, and again, I am 23, so I definitely haven't had that much experience, I think, compared to many other people. It all started, I think, in Singapore. I was born and raised there. I definitely exhibited entrepreneurial traits, I think, as a kid. One of the earliest memories that my parents loved telling their friends about is when I was around 7, 8 years old, I created a hovercraft. Which I built from scratch with my father and was able to sell that hovercraft for $200 to one of my classmates. When I moved to Calgary, Canada, around 8 years old, which was a crazy transition to go from one of the most beautiful cities in the world to one of like the, coldest cities in the world, Calgary, Canada. That was a crazy transition, and I didn't really do anything too entrepreneurial. I wasn't even a brilliant student, I feel. Like if you ask my mom, she'll just tell you like, oh, I was an average student. I was getting through school, but I think more of my extracurriculars came into effect past the age of 10, 11. I was dancing almost every single day. I was debating at a fairly high level in high school. I later on debated for Team Canada and was able to travel around the world for that, to Germany and Thailand and Bermuda and Mexico and Singapore for international competitions. But I think on the entrepreneurship side, other than doing one nonprofit in high school, I didn't have like an epiphany moment where I started an idea when I was 13 or 14 and then went along and built that up. Actually, when I was going to university in Toronto, I wanted to be a lawyer, because normally people who debate at a certain level want to either become a politician or a lawyer. Mm-hmm. And for me, politics is still in the cards, but I don't feel ready. And I also feel like in order to get there, I need to do a lot of other things first. So law was the route that I thought would be great. My brother, by the way, is a lawyer. He's a genius. He just finished his clerkship at the Supreme Court of Canada. And so I came in already having a very high standard to meet, which was terrible. I went through the University of Toronto, and then after 2 years, I think I realized that law probably wasn't right for me. My brother actually gave me an ultimatum telling me that if I continued to pursue law and did not pursue a business, he would stop talking to me. So he was a great support system in making me realize that law wasn't right for me and that I wasn't as attracted to it for the right reasons. And so when I dropped out of college, I took an internship in the summer in New York after my second year at a VC called JB Fitzgerald. Did that. It was started by an NBA player called Trevor Booker, who actually just DM'd me on Instagram randomly. It was just one of the most serendipitous situations possible. And after I did that internship over the summer, I became roommates with the guy who became my co-founder, Elliot. So Elliot, he created this big account called @Dunk, @DUNK on Instagram. He had about 2.2 million followers, now at about 2.4. And when I came on board, we started buying other Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter accounts. So by the time I left Dunk, we had about 21 media properties in one network. We had over 11 million followers in the network, and we mainly worked with brands to amplify their content to the 18 to 24-year-old demographic that was interested in basketball. So people in Chicago and LA and New York and Toronto. So I did that, gave me a really good glimpse into the world of influencer marketing. That's how I came up with the idea for Trufan. And that's what I've been working on now for the last 2.5 years with my co-founder. Actually at the time, Onik, he was at Stanford finishing up his second year. And then I guess I spread the dropout bug to him. He dropped out of school, decided to do Trufan full time. And after we raised money in Vancouver and Toronto, we're now based in Toronto as a team of 20 people.
Wow. So you not only dropped out of college, but you encouraged or inspired a few others to do the same.
I did encourage it. I'm actually very pro college.
Wow, you're a real rebel, aren't you?
Yeah. But I do think it's very hard to run a company full time without really committing yourself fully to it. Like when people bring up like, oh, I'm running 4 businesses at once. You know, you can have 4 businesses. Maybe some of them you've invested and advised in. But if you're fully operating 3 or 4, in my opinion, even more than one business, I would question that. I would question how much focus you truly have in life and towards your business. So that's something, by the way, I had to learn the hard way. It wasn't something I learned right off the bat, like how much commitment it really takes to get something off the ground. But I think now, you know, when people say, what do you do? I'm like Trufan, you know, like I for sure, I might speak, I might post on LinkedIn, but my bread and butter, 99% of my focus during the week is Trufan.
It's fantastic. Okay. So we as consumers or people or human beings, so we're all looking for like brands that kind of reflect our values and, you know, guide us towards some sort of self-actualization, right? And we all want to be a part of a purpose that's greater than ourselves, right? So with that in mind, if purpose is the new competitive advantage, what does that mean, like tactically, do you think, for companies?
Yeah, I think it means, from a hiring perspective, they have to go about changing their whole recruitment process, especially for younger people. I mean, the stereotype is that younger people want to just find a place that has beanbag chairs, right? And doesn't have a 9-to-5 work schedule, and you can work from home, right? And some parts of it is a little true. We do appreciate a flexible work schedule, and that, by the way, is the reality of things. I'm actually, one of the positives that came from COVID, one of the very few positives that have come from COVID, I'll preface, is that I think companies have finally woken up to remote work being viable. You know, like they're more open to it now because they're like, yeah, actually productivity didn't fall as much. Yeah. Sure, there's certain things that we need to come into the office for, but largely XYZ departments in our company can work from home. But to go back to your question, I do think that younger people are more purpose-driven. I think a lot of them at a very early age are looking to make impact, right? And that's a very vague way, I think, of saying that they are looking for a place where their actions lead to a result that they have a direct control over, as well as they're looking for a place that has values that align with them, right? Or align with their future goals, their future values. So you very much, I think now more than ever, have to play to people's skill sets, but you also have to play to their personal aptitudes and their personal goals as well.
Okay. So moving into the whole, you know, micro tribes or, you know, micro community building and all of that stuff, I'll just ask a bit of a 2-part question. One is, how can a brand identify a community or tribe, and how can something like Trufan be leveraged to activate that micro community or tribe?
Sure. I mean, look, there's ways to engage and identify your tribes even without a software tool like Trufan. I think right off the bat, going into your comments and actually caring about who comments on every single one of your posts is important. You know, to date, I have over 130,000 followers, I think, on LinkedIn. I still try to comment back to every single person that comments. And I physically do that all on my own. And I think the reason why is because I enjoy it. And then B, I don't see what the point is of social media if I'm not commenting back to people that are leaving me comments. You know, it's just, then I'm just talking, and it's just a one-way street, and it's not a dialogue in any way. And the dialogue is actually where ideas become better. The dialogue is where social media becomes exciting. That's where feedback is given. That's, in my opinion, where you should look for future content ideas. So I think right off the bat, you can start to find, you know, who are the people that are constantly commenting on my posts, and you can gauge a similar idea then on who your tribe might be, and maybe even invite them into a group or get on a 5-minute call with them and really start to solidify a relationship with them. But if you have millions of followers, even if you have tens of thousands of followers and you want to engage your tribe past your own brand, that's where a tool like Trufan can come into play, right? So definitely, you know, with our platform, you can go onto our platform, you can link your Instagram or Twitter, and you can see your followers and then filter them by their following, or who's verified, who's not, who's in India, who's in Canada. You can go through and filter your audience and segment them. But you can also do the exact same thing for over 10 million audience reports that we have on our system. Or for that matter, any public account on Instagram and Twitter. You can run their data, you can segment their following as if it was yours, and you can go through and try to find people that you think are going to engage really well with your content and start to message them and bring them into conversations.
Okay, fair enough.
So just for the, so the old age thinking people on the audience, right? So there's a big difference when both you and Kartika use the word micro communities or tribes, as opposed to what, you know, traditional marketers, old school marketers do in terms of targeting a specific demographic or things like that. I mean, that used to be the old way of sort of, you know, targeting, right? And this concept of tribes is something that Netflix, for example, has, and a bunch of other now companies have embraced. It's like, it's not purely based on whether somebody's a millennial or not. It's based on a whole set of criteria, correct? If I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong. It's something very much like somebody, oh, I'm a part of that tribe. And it's also the fact that you can actually belong to more than one tribe based on sort of your preferences, right?
Totally. And it's a mix of several factors, like you mentioned. You know, one is definitely, have I bought from that company before? Right? Am I a customer of their service or product? That is a great qualifier for a tribe. It's something we're actually looking to incorporate into our algorithm down the road, is not only social media data, but sales data, i.e. can I show you people that have bought from you and then correlate their social media activity, or go the other way, where I tell you these are the people that have engaged with you the most, and I can show you how much they've bought from you. So that's definitely number one. I think number two is, are they active in their community when it comes to your space? So if you're in the mental health space, do they talk about it in their own community? Do they go and try to share content on Instagram or Twitter about it? Do they attend events about it? So are they pretty much an ambassador not only of your brand by being a customer, but are they an ambassador of your space, of the product, of the offering that you're trying to give out? And then I think thirdly, which is critical for you know, tribes, is, are they just really engaged with your content on social media, right? So when you take a look at the mix of all three, then that's where you get, I think, the perfect balance of who an ideal customer should be. Someone that engages with us on social media, someone that engages with our content and the category of our content, and then someone ideally that has bought from us once, twice, thrice, whatever it is.
So that actually leads me really nicely into a question that I've been percolating in my head, which is like, how do you identify pre-established leaders of these micro communities or tribes, and then sort of hand them the reins? Because part of it is we also want them to, you know, drive that community, right?
Yep. I mean, I've seen this done in so many different ways. And thankfully, you know, with our platform, we give you the data to find who those micro influencers should be that you reach out, but we don't mandate how you go about reaching out to them. We don't tell you this is what you should do with the data. So it is very flexible. We've seen companies go through and start to DM some of the micro influencers and put them into a Facebook group. Some people put them into a Slack channel. Some people email them and set up a quarterly meeting where every 3 months they'll get on a call with 5 to 10 of the micro influencers that follow them in an area that they really want to expand into. So I've seen this, you know, done in different ways. I've also seen people go through and find micro influencers and ship them free product, because when people get something in the mail for free, they love promoting it. Doesn't matter who you are. Everyone loves free stuff.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely a number of different ways to go about activating your tribe. If you want to retain them though, you definitely want to go beyond just sending them free product. You want to try as much as possible to loop them into decision-making processes within your company. And by the way, companies already do this, right? A lot of companies already do user testing sessions with some of their top customers. My problem is they don't factor in customers that engage with them highly on social media when it comes to who should we invite to those user testing sessions. Right now, that's mainly based on just customer data. Who's buying from us the most? Who's given us the most issues or bug fixes that we need to do? And it's not based on who's talking about our category or our brand on social media.
Okay. Obviously the SEO guys and some of the marketers are all focused on like, how do we increase more traffic to the website? But the whole micro community concept is more around relevance, right? Quantity versus kind of quality. So how do you kind of balance that old age thinking of when your boss asks you for a report and you say, oh, the vanity metric doesn't look good, but actually it's people who are relevant and in my affinity or category. Like, how do you sort of, bring those people to the new age?
Yeah, look, I mean, people believe that impressions are a vanity metric. And I do largely agree that if you're working with an influencer just to get views or likes, it's not the most useful campaign. That being said, though, it really comes down to your goals, right? So if your goal is, I have this really kick-ass piece of content that I know if influencers spread it or if micro-influencers spread it on my behalf, I'm hoping that at least people will wake up and realize, this is what Hatch is about, or this is what Trufan is about, right? So that could be your goal. And if that's your goal, then vanity metrics like impressions totally work. But I think where people should be going towards is conversion, or at the very least, conversion on the basis of social media followers, maybe not even on the basis of customers, right? I've seen companies countless times go out. They spend a lot of money trying to acquire a customer the first time. They put that money towards ads, they put it towards influencers, and then they go back and they do the exact same thing. A month later, they'll try to reacquire the customer at the same cost. The third time, they'll go about trying to acquire the same customer again, running the same damn ad set without ever trying to bring that individual into their community. And the way to do that is A, getting them to buy, which is hard to do, but B, a little bit easier is getting them to follow your account so they're now within your network and you don't need to pay Facebook. You don't need to pay Google in order to be able to hit them up directly and get their attention. So that's going to be key, I think, is focusing more on conversion than just impressions.
Okay.
This concept of kind of social intelligence that, companies such as Trufan and Hootsuite has really done a great job. I think they, a lot of people, even on the executive ranks, we're not talking so much on the marketing ranks, are not even aware that, there is this technology that essentially can gather lots of intelligence almost seamlessly for you on a regular basis, run reports on all of that, and actually help you identify these tribes or micro communities. And then, yes, and they does, to your point, it does create you have to be nuanced about it, because when you start then marketing to or serving up content or whatever you do to those members of various tribes, and you can have multiple tribes affiliated with your brand, then you have to be also equally nuanced in your approach, right? So you can't take the content that works for tribe A and send it to tribe B, because that won't work, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, that has some, so I guess, overhead or cost associated with it, but it's fully worth doing that, because as you say, as you bring them in and make them a part of the community, that's money you don't have to pay to Google or Facebook. So that's really what you're saying, right? And that's why you need to use technology like some of the stuff that you've developed and your company has developed.
100%, yeah. And we have nothing but good things to say about Hootsuite as well, right? Hootsuite doesn't play in the same space as us. We've actually partnered with them. But, with Hootsuite, I know that they're fantastic when it comes to content and publishing. Right. So when it comes to scheduling posts, when it comes to understanding if your post is reaching the people that you want to reach, that's where they're incredible. And so we've actually been fortunate to partner with them. Their CEO, Ryan Holmes, is an advisor in our company and has been one of our earliest supporters. But it's a very complementary tool.
So how can a business determine if setting up a micro community or tribe is right for them?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think it's always worth trying. So I'm going to preface this by saying experimentation is always key, especially when it comes to marketing and when it comes to sales. If you're trying anything new, you need to test it. So I don't think that there is a cookie cutter company that fits influencer marketing. I think in today's world, especially when I define influencer marketing as really just empowering your customers, especially your influential customers, to promote your product on your behalf, I don't think that there is any company in the world that should not do that. I think that some companies might yield better results based on their content, based on the brand itself. Like if you're a direct-to-consumer suitcase company like Away, or a direct-to-consumer toothpaste company or toothbrush company, you might do a lot better than a fintech company that's selling insurance to their customers. So I do agree that there might be differences in terms of results. That being said, I would try. I would experiment, regardless of what type of company you are. Try to find 5, 6, 7 of your customers and try to gauge, all right, do they have 2,000 followers? Do they have 10,000 followers? What can I do with them? A, to provide them something that builds loyalty, but B, gives them the ability to advocate on my behalf to their community. Is that just arming them with a deck, a 2-pager, a 1-pager of who we are and trying to get them to come into an affiliate program? Is it me trying to give them free product and hopefully they'll put it onto their Instagram story? Is it me inviting them out to an event as a speaker where they are going to post about the event because they're speaking at it? There's so many ways I think about activating your fan base and being able to truly get them to be an advocate as opposed to just a customer.
Okay. Lavi, you have a question? Or?
Yeah, so I was thinking, there's been a trend in the past, at least, and certainly before COVID, that companies spend a lot of money finding influencers, right, and then paying them money to sort of promote your brand and all of that. Is what you are saying or suggesting, and especially using tooling that you provide also amongst others, is to not just go for this one big name out there to sort of, or a couple of big names to promote or influence, but look for those influencers, almost those mini influencers that, are members of your tribe, and then have them amplify your content or your messaging out in more mass scale, like an army of ants as opposed to a, army of one king, or queen, right? So is that the messaging that is coming through now, that's the newer trend?
That is, I think,
having like a celebrity endorsement or something like that.
Yeah, look, unless you got Kylie Jenner or Kim Kardashian to promote your post for you, it's very rare to see the type of effectiveness with people that just have millions of followers that you might see with micro-influencers. And I'll explain why. I think an army of 30, 25, 20 micro-influencers that all have 20,000 followers is probably a lot better than working with one influencer that has 1.1 or 1.5 or 2 million followers. And the reason is A, the person that has 1 million followers is going to charge you a lot more than someone that has 20,000. So right off the bat, your cost for that campaign will likely be higher. B, it's actually statistically shown that people that have bigger followings actually have lower engagement rates. So when you have 1 million followers, you're likely hovering around 5 to 7% engagement rate if you have a healthy account. If you're at around 20,000 to 50,000 followers, your engagement rates could be as high as 30% on some accounts because your fan following is so close to you. It's so intimate to you. You pretty much know almost every person that follows you, or you have a direct relationship with them because you're on the rise and you genuinely want to reach out and take time to appreciate every single person in your community that attends an Instagram live or comments on your post. So I do think that the engagement rates are something that are way better on micro-influencers, and that can really help with conversion in particular. And then finally, I think a lot of times people that have millions of followers, they post sponsored posts all the time. So when it comes to authenticity of their followers really believing whether they endorse that product for themselves, it's hard to believe that someone with 1.5 million followers that shares 2 sponsored posts a week really wears that shirt. Like, do they really wear it on a weekly basis, on a daily basis? Do they really love that brand? But then when someone has 20,000 followers, I'm a little more like, could be, maybe they do actually endorse this brand because they're not doing as many endorsements. They're not doing as many brand deals as someone that has 1 million followers. So I think the optics of the campaign are just very different as well.
Okay. I mean, brilliant answer. Yeah. Thank you.
We have can I take an audience question if you don't mind? From Sona. Thanks, Sona, for joining us today. Aren't micro communities already kind of available in the form of theme-specific groups on different platforms? How relevant could the existence of such groups, example, Bangalore Foodies Face Group, be for a restaurant chain based in Bangalore in the context of the validation of the concept of micro communities or tribes?
Yeah, I think it's great. Great question. I do think it validates a lot of what I'm talking about in terms of micro communities. When I'm also talking about micro communities, though, I do mean even deeper than that. So like I think Bangalore Foodies, I'm not familiar with the group. I can kind of assume what it is, but I do think that it's already too broad. I don't think it's in depth. I feel like a restaurant chain in Bangalore should have their own Facebook group. And sure, it might not perform as well as just having a Bangalore Foodies group that's broad, but the hope is that even if I have 20 people in that group, they're going to be super engaged. They're going to respond to every single time that I share in the group, hey, looking for feedback on this dish, or the new menu just came out, take a look and let me know what you think. Or they're willing to come out to an event, or they're willing to promote our new chain or a new restaurant that we opened up wherever it is. So I do think you want to be as specific as you can when it comes to micro communities. The more vague and the more broad you are, the less effective I think you'll be able to reap the benefits of micro communities.
So are you saying, Swish, that let's say this restaurant is an ice cream, specialize in ice cream. So would it be better to not just to do foodies, but look for a micro community that is around ice cream or artisanal ice cream or whatever?
In your area, right? In your area, try to really drill down to the people that you believe are part of your tribe, right? Like if you're an ice cream store and you say our tribe are ice cream lovers, that's so broad. Like that's just so broad, right? Because the problem is you haven't gone through and pinpointed people that think about ice cream a lot. And by the way, they are people like that. They're passive ice cream lovers like me.
Lami's like that. Lami's like
right?
that.
But like they're passive ice cream lovers like me. We think about it maybe once or twice a week. We'll order something just to treat ourselves. But there are people that legitimately, like you mentioned, they know about artisanal ice cream. They know about vegan ice cream. They know about ice cream from farmers markets versus ice cream that you Uber Eats or delivery off McDonald's, like a McFlurry, right? So those are the people you want to try to drill down to. People that really know their ice cream, people that are in love with ice cream in given areas that you really care about, and ideally people that have bought from you or your competitor before, right? Like it's very easy to know who the competitors for your ice cream brand might be in any given area. And going after those people via Facebook ads or via micro influencers in your area and trying to get them to join a group that's very dedicated to that area and your interests, that's something that is a lot better to do than just having an ice cream lovers group.
And also, Swish, you mentioned that in the future with Trufan, you're looking to also leverage sales data and stuff like that, right? Can it already leverage competitor data, like people who already engage with my competitors, and can I then, quote unquote, poach those people into my tribe?
Yeah, I mean, I think with micro influencers, if I get your question correctly, can I poach them into my tribe through sales data? Was that basically the question?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that you can. I don't think right now that customers are well equipped. Companies are well equipped right now to capture that type of data. Like we were chatting recently with a company, it's a point of sale company in Toronto. They're a public company on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And we were chatting with their CEO recently. They have about 75,000 small businesses that all use their point of sale system, very similar to a Shopify, but more for brick and mortar, not for e-commerce, but more for like retailers, people in the hospitality industry, restaurants, etc. And they have 75,000 small businesses that use their platform. And when I came up and I asked their CEO, hey, do you know which out of those 75,000 are the most influential on social media? He was like, we have no clue. Like we don't track social media data. And I think it bothers me because there's just so much opportunity there. Like if they knew that 500 or 1,000 of their customers have 20,000, 30,000 followers on social media, just imagine what they could do in order to give discounts on their product in exchange for social posts, in order to set up a proper referral program that actually makes sense. So, man, like I just think that a lot of companies, and it bothers me because I think down the road, we're going into the right path, but like, I just feel like so many companies in the last 10, 15 years have missed out on an incredible opportunity to get social media data on their customers in a very organic and first party way, and being able to then leverage that for their own marketing efforts. It just bothers me.
If you were to advise, let's say somebody's starting a company tomorrow, right? Swish, so would you advise one to sort of, to make sure that you cover all the social media channels? So, you make sure you have a Twitter account, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, right? You set up those properties, you drive content to that, you use something like, your social intelligence, Trufan kind of things. You set that up, you start tracking who's visiting all of these properties and the content. You post different kinds of content to see, you know, whether one resonates better than the other. You track all of that. You got the data behind all of that, and therefore you've increased essentially the touch points by which people from on social media kind of hit you, because you have multiple properties, not just a website. And you do that, and then you run all of your, you know, cool tech behind that, and then start, you know, really targetedly trying to convert them, trying to make them part of a, you know, your various tribes that are associated at various levels of granularity. Is that what you would advise a company to do if they're starting tomorrow?
Yeah, if you're starting tomorrow, please get started and don't just say we're going to do it.
Right.
And then I think B, yeah, go. You don't need to invest in software. You don't need to buy Trufan right off the bat. I think the hope is that you'll go through and you'll look at the 100, 150 followers that you have on your Instagram page. And I would love for you just to go through it. If you have a small following, you're lucky. You can actually go through and in 5 to 10 minutes, swipe through all of your followers and actually learn about them individually. If you just take 30 minutes out of your day, you legitimately could go through every single profile and understand a little more about, this person seems interesting. I should probably reach out to them and say, what's up? Or I should try to work with them. This person might even have an influence. Like maybe I should give them free product or free service, right? Get started with those nimble ways before you then invest in software that allows you to really look beyond your account and allows you to look at the world of the internet. And you can use a platform like ours then to go through and filter the world of the internet into people that ideally meet your ideal characteristics for social media. People that are located in a specific area, they have a very specific keyword in their bio, they have a follower range that's between X and Y, and you can go through and reach out to them by a DM and hopefully bring them into your community.
This leads me to a really nice question actually from Rebecca. Thanks for joining us today. If you're a small business, is there someone who helps you create success with Trufan? What is the resource requirement to be successful with it?
Yeah, I mean, look, the resource requirement for, you know, a platform like Trufan is pretty minimal. At the end of the day, we are a data platform, right? So we pride ourselves on being affordable. We pride ourselves on being incredibly intuitive and easy to use at the same time while not sacrificing on how powerful the platform is. So when you come on, and by the way, our customers don't use our platform for more than 15, 20 minutes a day. And now they use it a lot more every single week, but before COVID, they were using it maybe twice a week. Now, a lot of our customers are using it every single day because they're trying to engage their online community a lot more, because that's really the only way right now to market in a time like we live in. But when you come on, it's very straightforward. There's no marketing jargon. You're able to immediately link your Instagram or Twitter account. You can go through your following and filter that following by the ideal characteristics. Like I talked about, we have about 14 filters that you can use on your following. But then there's a search bar at the top, and it's very similar to Google. You can search up any public Instagram account or any public Twitter account. And if that account has been run before on our system, which about 10 million audience reports have already been run on our system since we started, you'll be able to go into that report as well and go through their followers and filter them like they were yours.
Wow.
Okay. Wow, fantastic.
There's one more question, right? There's another question.
Yeah, I actually have a question too. We've talked so much about micro communities and tribes and things like that, but then we have this company like Apple that has such a large cult following. I mean, and Lavi and I were sitting here and wondering, can a tribe be made up of 100 million people, or are there micro communities within that?
Yeah, there are definitely micro communities within that, right? Like even within Apple, there are people that love the iPhone. There are people that love the MacBook. There are people that go to the World Developer Conference every single year, and they always look forward to Apple's event there. I know a lot of them are posting on Twitter because they're so sad it's happening virtually this year. There are definitely different types of fanatics. There are people that have an Apple TV. There are people that absolutely hate the Apple TV like me, not a fan of it at all. So again, I think at a certain scale, when you're a company like Apple, I think your tribe starts to not just become, again, people that buy from Apple, because that would be insanely big, vague, and not effective. But I think it becomes people that are in specific areas and now buy specific product lines. Because what they offer at the end of the day is very different, right? Like they're in the phone business, they're in the TV business, they're providing an operating system, they're providing laptops, like they provide very different things. They provide content now with Apple TV. Like I think what you want to do as much as possible if you're a company like Apple is split your product lines up, split your locations up, and start to build your micro communities online based on that.
Okay. We just have another question come through from Sonal. Thanks, Sonal, for joining us today. Who, Swish, do you think are Trufan's competitors?
Yeah, I mean, look, we have a lot of competitors, definitely. Like, we're in the audience analytics space. Social media analytics as a whole is very saturated, I think. In order to understand who our competitors are, you really have to understand the analytics space as a whole. So there are two types of companies that play in the analytics space. There are companies that focus on the performance of content. So when to post, how to post. Those are companies like Hootsuite, like Buffer, like Sprout Social. We don't play in that industry. What we play in is something called audience analytics. And that's where you have companies like Sprinkler. You have social listening tools like Crimson Hexagon, which sounds like a cult, but it's not. It just recently got bought out by Brandwatch. And you have companies like Upfluence and Agora Pulse and Digimind. I think why we're very different from a lot of those competitors is Sprinkler, for example, starts off at $7,000 per month. Our platform starts at $24 a month. Very, very affordable compared to Sprinkler. And you can imagine the type of customers we can go after that they can't. Sprinkler and Crimson Hexagon are known for being very conducive for data scientists in particular. So it's not even like marketing teams that use their platform. It's the data or the data insights team or the consumer insights team that uses the platform, derives information, and then passes it on to the marketing team. We have a problem with that. We wanted to make our platform simple to use so that marketeers could immediately get fresh data and act on it as quickly as possible. So we're different in that respect. And we're also different in the respect that I don't think there is a platform out there that has over 10 million audience reports and over 2 billion social profiles already run and ready for any customer to come and filter through. There's no platform in the world that can do that. So on the basis of affordability, on the basis of how powerful our platform is and how easy to use it is, we feel pretty confident with what we built.
Fantastic. Lavi, do you want to ask that question that the audience wanted us to ask when we announced that we're talking to Swish today?
Okay, jog my memory, or you should ask the question.
No. I'll jog your memory. I'll jog your memory because you ask it so much better than I do. Just around regional startups and, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So, one of our sponsors has a couple of accelerators under their belt, Hatch, and I was wondering if we run. I mean, are you conducive, or are you open to potentially sharing some of your wisdom to companies, especially on their marketing and what they should do on the sales and marketing side, if in one of these accelerator programs? Or do you do that normally as a mentoring?
Yeah, I mean, look, I like to, there's way too many lessons that I've picked up, and I like to, as much as possible, share them wherever I failed or wherever I've succeeded. I love sharing that. So yeah, I mean, look, if from a schedule perspective, I obviously can't commit to anything right now, but follow up.
It'll be at your convenience.
Exactly. Like if there's a date and a time that makes sense, I'm more than happy to get on a 30-minute, 1-hour Zoom call, whatever it is, and share whatever I've learned to the companies in that accelerator. More than happy to do that.
Yeah, because I think, a lot of this information that we're sharing today, we're hoping the reason we have these the conversations with experts all over the world is to essentially, I think a lot of businesses today are sort of wondering, how are we going to survive? What are we going to do? And I think it's a great time. And sometimes, the best time to sort of solidify and get your business ready for the future is in a time where things are really, really bad, whether it's 2008 and the, financial meltdown, or now in the middle of the pandemic. Totally. I think whatever you sort of put in place and execute on today will make sure that you're the next big company somebody's talking about. I think that's
very much, very, very true. I think, again, where others might see a pandemic, some people see an opportunity, right? And some people see where trends are headed, whether it's around digitization, whether it's around remote work, whether it's around mental health and how people are coping with that during a time like this. There's a lot of opportunity to build a billion-dollar company, and by no means do I think Trufan, for example, is a billion-dollar company. We are Canadian after all, so we are very humble and modest about our goals, especially compared to our American counterparts. But
Lavi is American, by the way. Did you take a
My wife's Canadian, so she always keeps telling me that.
Very sorry for you. It must make kind of traveling during this time a lot harder for you, I bet, when you're going through airports with an American passport. But but at the same time, I do think that there is a lot of opportunity now. And, I do think at the end of the day, at a very high level, the companies that are going to come out doing well during a pandemic like this are either companies that help others save money or make money. And that's what you need to boil your product or service down to. How do I help companies cut costs, or how do I help them double down and do something that allows them to double or triple their money on spend that they usually would put in, whether it's into marketing or sales or whatever it is. And that's the way we're thinking about Trufan as well. You know, how can we go about showing a direct correlation between the time you spend on our platform and the money that you're able to make off the people in your community?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. I mean, thanks for agreeing to sort of do that tentatively in the future, but that's very, very generous of you. Karthika, a couple of questions?
Yeah, I just have one final question. I think we're almost out of time. So Ryan Holmes, huh? How did that happen?
Yeah, a lot of my mentors, you know, whether it's Ryan or Michelle Romanoff, who's at Clearbank, or Michael Hyatt, who runs Blue Cat, like a lot of them is just more, I guess, putting myself in the right situation sometimes. So with Ryan, for example, I met him, I'd say maybe 3 years ago now at a conference that I spoke at. So I spoke at a conference, I met Ryan, and then I wrote an article on him and was able to build a more personal relationship by getting on the phone with him, asking him a bunch of personal questions, writing about a story and sharing it. And then I just stayed in touch with what I was doing and, you know, kept him in loop, brought him into my LinkedIn community, brought him into my Instagram community. He started to pay attention to some of the work I was doing at Trufan, and he became very helpful. And so he offered me a position to come on board the board of directors of a nonprofit that he was setting up called the League of Innovators, which I'm still on. And when I moved to Vancouver to start the company with my co-founder, Onik, we actually initially worked out of the Hootsuite offices to build Trufan because of just his support and the kind of compassion that he has for other entrepreneurs, which is great.
Wow, that's an amazing story.
Yeah.
So, you had mentioned that you were into dancing. So I wrote that down in my notes, and I said I got to ask him because. So, what kind of dancing was this?
Yeah, I mean, I danced hip hop for a long time. I did a bit of Bollywood dancing actually when I was 11 and 12 years old. My mom enrolled me in some classes, and I vividly remember being like the only kid under 18 years old, actually the only guy, first of all. But then all the other people in the dance class were like over 30 years old. I think they were all moms, and it was cute, but it was also just like definitely not my scene. And then, yeah, I mean, even now, like I don't obviously dance as competitively now. But when I was in New York, for example, 2 years ago, I was part of the New York Dance Academy, and I did weekly lessons there. And it's something that I've enjoyed for some time. You know, I think it's something I might do in the future. I might do something around dance, more, I think, gauged around like teaching kids dance, because I do think you learn a lot when you do debate and when you do dance. You learn a lot about critical thinking, teamwork, coordination, which I think is hugely important for any career, especially being an entrepreneur. And so, yeah, 100% something that's more of a passion for me. But anytime I think I get a little too stressed out, I either play basketball or I dance. That's kind of my two ways to get over stress.
Hey, there's grace in both those things, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So I want to try something that you had an earlier passion of, maybe still one, social entrepreneurship, right? So all this stuff that you're doing, that you're advocating and Trufan can help do for companies, very transactional from a commercial standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming that all of those technologies and techniques can also be applied if you're a nonprofit, if you're a social entrepreneurship enterprise, right? This could be for not only for commercial interest, but understanding the tribes and those that interact and influence and evangelize what you're doing is important, even for companies that are not trying to make a buck, but trying to make the world better.
I mean, look, we brought on last week the American Wildlife Foundation, right? And so we brought on some pretty great nonprofits and foundations. It's also, by the way, one of the reasons why we price our pricing model in a very affordable way, is so that we can cater to not just the Fortune 500s, Fortune 1000, but we can cater to the nonprofits, the mom and pop shops, the bakeries, just stores that really run the economy at the end of the day, like the local economy. We're able to really cater to them. And so 100%, when it comes to going through and finding your top followers, your most valuable followers to promote your product, your service, your mission, your purpose, your promotion through, that's something you can easily do through our platform. But also, I think when it comes down to it, when it comes to understanding what your audience is talking about, that's going to be big as well. right? So that's going to be really big when it comes to understanding, does my audience really care about X, Y, Z topics? How do I go about now putting content out that caters to that and relates to them?
Just out of interest, Swish, does Trufan have a partner program?
We do actually have a partner program. So again, we partnered with ClearBank. We partnered with Hootsuite now. So every ClearBank customer can go through and they can use their ClearBank card that they raised from ClearBank on Trufan for a cashback program. And they can also, with Hootsuite, they can go on Hootsuite. It's like a Google Chrome extension pretty much.
Yeah, we have that for our Hootsuite actually.
Exactly. They can download Trufan into their dashboard, see their top 5 fans. If they want to see more people, they can buy our platform. So we're constantly looking for partners to continue to work with. We have a couple of ones that we're still vetting right now that we might do by the end of the year. But again, it's not something we're aggressively pushing for. It's more like every 2-3 months, we'll normally do one big partnership.
Yeah. Hatch might reach out to you actually because they're very interested in partnering.
Yeah. Yeah.
Karthik, a couple more questions, I think, right?
No, just basically people giving really good comments about how you don't have to keep paying. Facebook is music to my ears, and just goes on to say how, you know, something like Trufan would add really great value to a small business and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then there's one on what next for Trufan. So I think you mentioned that a little bit, which was that you were planning on sort of doing this, tying the technology to sales actually made as well. But what's the future look like for you? Where do you plan to go next in terms of?
Yeah, I think, look, we want to be the premier audience analytics platform in the world. We're going to cross over 500 paying customers by the end of this month. And by the way, those 500 paying customers now are across 3 continents. It's across Europe, it's across North America, and it's across South America. So we have a number of customers in London, in Barcelona, down in South America. We have customers in Brazil, and we're looking now at Asia. And we're looking specifically at India. We're looking at the Philippines. We have advisors in both. So Quan Entertainment, which I know is a premier Bollywood talent agency in India, they came on board as an advisor to our company a few months ago. In the Philippines, we have a pretty powerful investor who is part of the political scene in the Philippines, but is very tied to the media and entertainment space there. And so we're building a strategy for hopefully the end of the year or by the start of 2021 to push into those countries and try to find who are good partners to work with, who are good affiliates to bring on, who are great case studies to start to build out and work with right off the bat.
And who would be? I mean, I know that your price point, you know, makes it affordable for anyone. But what is the ideal customer for you? I mean, you know, what are the sort of the digital assets they need to have, or the size of the company? Or...
I mean, look, we break down your ideal customer mainly based on revenue, and then based on your business itself. Based on your revenue, anywhere between, you know, really, I'd say 250,000 annual recurring revenue all the way to about 5 million is a sweet spot. Again, it's also based on your followers. Like if you have 50 followers, you're probably not going to benefit a great deal from our platform. You probably want to be at around 250, 500 and plus. In terms of your business itself, the most seamless fit has always been direct to consumer and e-commerce companies because they rely a lot on Facebook and Instagram to advertise. They already work with influencers and they know that space. We also love working with agencies that represent a lot of brands. And we love working with individual influencers that are looking to grow their following through building a community. So those are kind of the 3 big customer profiles that we put out as our ICPs.
Fantastic.
Ideal customer profile for those people who might not know ICP. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Karthika, any more?
No, I'm just also.
We're right at the 45-minute mark. So
yeah, exactly. So I'm just cognizant of Swish's time as well.
Yeah. So if there are no more questions, there doesn't seem to be many. I mean, it's been a great 45 minutes again, Swish, of, you know, wonderful insights from you and great advice and a much better understanding of the space that you're in, customer analytics. We also got a few snippets of your sort of personal life and what sort of motivates and you know, gets you going. The dancing and the basketball being sort of pastimes that helps you de-stress. So thank you so much for being so candid and honest and thorough in your feedback to us in terms of all of the things that you do. You know, again, all the very best to your endeavors at Trufan and all the other things that you're doing across the world. You know, I hope your Asian audience base and customer base grows. You know, we'll do our bit to sort of get the word out in India, in Sri Lanka, and in South Asia about the wonderful technology that you bring to the table. And we'll love to do that as our way of saying thank you for all the great information that you've shared with our audience. So
appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Not a problem. Have a great weekend, Swish, and thank you again. And I remember my dad telling me when I was probably a little younger than you, said, you always get an education because, hey, anytime you lose a job, that's, businesses can go under, you can lose your job, but your education. I think he was coming from a very old school where he figured that if you had a degree that you would always get a job. I think the world's changed. It doesn't matter anymore how many degrees you have, right? So I think what you've done, which is, essentially gone out and created several companies and dropped out of college. I know you're poor education, but at the same time, I think those days of sort of looking for someone else to take care of you, I think those are gone. And I think in South Asia in particular, I think we have a propensity of people telling young entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka and India and elsewhere, why are you doing a startup? Why don't you, go join a big company and, be there 10, 15 years? I think that's no longer applicable or valid. And I'm hopeful that lots of young people and older people who have kids your age are inspired by what you've done and won't tell their kids, no, don't go start up that crazy thing that you want to do. So, so I thank you for sharing all your insights and being a great example or mentor to all of these younger folks who might be tentative about that in this part of the world. So thanks again, Swish. Have a great weekend. And I'm sure our paths will cross again.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.